Shalom. Call halam la Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Haracha'a Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and sincerity. They steered us well and they rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect. May the blessing of election be upon your house. This is the brother Zion Amawan coming at you with another lesson to feed the lambs through the Holy Spirit. Haracha'a Kodash. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and to the point. In this lesson, we are going to get into 7 signs you are not of the elect. All right? 7 signs you are not of the elect. Elder Apostle Gabar did a video on this very topic, all right, about 7 signs you are not of the elect. All right. And we see a lot of signs in these other camps and these other Israelites. A lot of these Israelites carry that Christian stench, if you know what I mean, with an Israelite twist, man. You know, but this is a telltale sign. All right. And one of those, we're going to get straight to it. One of them is you don't pray. You know, you have to pray. The scripture's going to praying without ceasing. You know, you pray constantly and you pray and fast. This is a custom of ours as Hebrew Israelites. All right. Praying. You have a power. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. He isn't the power of everyone. He's the power of the Hebrews. You understand? He's a power of the Hebrews. He's your power. So you don't talk to your power, but you would talk to that nappy-headed Keisha-like, though. You know, you would talk to Keisha, but you ain't going to talk to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Like, come on, man. You know, matter of fact, let's get some scriptures. I got Matthew 6 and verse 5 going into praying. You know, this is a sign when you don't pray. You just winging it. Matthew 6 and 5. When thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, and they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. So you don't want to be, you know, a fake-alite. You know, it ain't a sincere bone in your body, but you praying on camera, putting your hands on people's heads, you know, just doing it for the camera, doing it for the gram, you know, and you get a big crowd and people start giving you that. Yeah, man, like the Lord dealing with you, man, I showed, you know, and then, okay, you're going to get your consolation right then and there, man. Okay. You have your reward. You know, you have a lot of Israelites that just don't pray at all. You know, I'm talking about they just wake up and just don't pray. That should be one of the first things you do. But you will go on Facebook, though. You will wake up and go straight to Facebook or go straight to Instagram or whatever. So YouTube, social media platform. But if it's YouTube, put on a video. Watch a brother's video. I did that plenty of times. I pray and I just throw on a brother's video. Brothers be dropping videos live like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, all times of the day. You know, throw on the video. It's going to set the tone. Praying in the morning, set the tone for the rest of the day. If you waking up and you ain't praying, you are actually setting a bad tone for the day. You know? Verse 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. See, you want to be by yourself praying. It ain't everybody's business. You know, this is your walk. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You see? So it ain't everybody's business to be seeing and knowing what you praying about. There was times where I was in a public area and I wanted to just throw a palal up. I just said it in my head. In public. I said it in my head though. If you want to put a curse on a motherfucker or something, somebody that offended you, you want to shalach rayamim, which means send evils their way. If you want to send evils to them Negroes, then say it in your head. Don't say it out loud in a public area. You speak to Yahweh Shema Shah in private, and you're going to be rewarded openly. You're going to see that curse manifest on that person. You're going to see the prayers manifest in your life, things that you may need. And it's going to be spiritual things. You don't necessarily want to pray for a new car all the time. I mean, like you can, but you don't want, tangible prayers to be thrown up all the time. The Lord know what you need. That's why the scriptures say, don't worry about what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink or how ye shall be clothed. But seek the kingdom of Yahweh Shema Shah, and all these things will be added on to you. See, you ask for spiritual gifts, spiritual things. The Lord know you need a car if you ain't got one. He know you need to keep a roof over your head. He know you need food in your stomach. He made you. But you seek the kingdom of Yahweh Shema Shah. Ask for spiritual gifts, more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding. All right? If you need to pray more, pray to Yahweh Shema Shah that you give me the spirit to pray more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just don't sit on your ass. Damn. Verse 7. But when ye pray, use not vain repetitions. Right? You don't want to be babbling. You know what I'm saying? Just babbling. No, have what you want to say in your mind. Already have your prayer already lined up. Don't be up there winging it off the dome. I mean, like you can, but you don't want to get in the habit of doing that because you will end up babbling to your Yahweh Shema Shah, man. Praying over the same thing. Okay, man, you should be able to throw that one prayer up for what you wanted. Throw it up one time, and then that's it. You ain't got to keep throwing up the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. As the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard of their, Salaki, I just, started over and say, but when ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathens do, for they think that they shall be heard of their much speaking. You see? So, you don't want to get caught up, in repeating the same prayers over and 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 over again. Yahweh Shema Shah know what you need. All right. If the Lord dealing with you, he gonna hear it one time and do it anyway. So why are you bringing it up? Because it haven't happened yet. It's gonna happen in the due time of Yahweh Shema Shah, man. All right. Now, bullet 2 is no fear, man. All right. No fear. That is a very big sign that you are not of the elect. Is no fear. Fear is the beginning of wisdom. Okay? Wisdom is not going to dwell in a malicious soul. When you go into the parable of the different levels of ground, you had the stony ground, all right, and all the way up, all right, to that good ground, which is going into the reasoning of men. All right, your mindset, okay? And you have to be fashioned a certain way. Be fashioned to believe, fashioned to have faith, fashioned to have fear. You see what I'm saying? You have to be fashioned, created that way. That's why King David said, create in me a clean heart, you know, and take not thy Holy Spirit away from me. You see? So I got Jeremiah right quick, 5:22. It reads, Fear ye not me, saith the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah. Will ye not tremble at my presence, which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree? You hear that? That's, you know, one thing that people take for granted is a shoreline, right? They take that for granted. The shores have bounds that it can't pass, like the water. Do you know how much water it is on the face of the earth? It's like 70% water. If the Lord really want to release that bound, he can flood the whole earth just off releasing the bounds of the ocean. He can drown everybody with ease. You understand? So that don't not put no fear in your heart. People take this for granted too. A rainbow. When you see a rainbow, that's supposed to scare the fuck out of you. But they make it a rainbow and they tie it in with unicorns and a pot of gold at the end with a short, leprechaun Israelite foreigner. You know? Like there's a group of Oompa Loompas at the end of it or something. Do you know what the rainbow was for? It's an indication. That's literally what it is. It is an indication that Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah is not going to use water to flood the earth no more. So when you look at the rainbow, it's supposed to put fear in your heart, like the Lord killed the earth before, but he's not going to use that method anymore. He's going to use a new method, which is fire. The two extremes. Too much water will kill you. Too much fire will kill you. With the right balance of water, you can like wash your clothes, your dishes. You can clean up. You can, boil food. But with the right amount of fire, in moderation, you can cook food. You can heat up your house, so on and so forth. But the Lord gonna turn up the furnace, just like how Nebuchadnezzar tried to turn when he turned up the furnace 7 times. That's how Yahweh Shema Shah gonna do these niggas. He gonna turn the fire up on these niggas, on broil. Cause that oven already preheated. The oven been on 500. He just ready to put the Pyrex pan in the damn oven to where he can slow cook your ass. And that day that's going to burn as an oven is coming soon. Sooner than what you think. Okay? But the vision is yet for an appointed time, so things have to happen in its appointed time. There's a certain day, an hour, a second, a millisecond. Okay? With that. All right? So you got to have the MOTB first. And that's scary within itself, because Yahweh Shema Shah can put the spirit on you to take the MOTB. He can do that with no problem. And the MOTB is going to justify the missiles. You got to see chipping stations. You got to see 15-minute city. You got to see all that first You got to see the C-hip being mandatory 100%. It ain't no way around it. You got to get it or your ass is ostracized out of society. That has to happen before the 7th plague, the last trump. All right? Which is the missiles and the second coming of Yahushua all in one. Now it say that it cannot pass it, and through the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail? Though they roar, yet they cannot pass over it. You see? So Yahweh Shema Shah set boundaries everywhere, even the ocean. He can release that bound so quick and then flood this junk. It'll be a big ass tidal wave, probably the size of the Empire State Building, coming your way, man. If the Lord really, decide to release the bounds of the ocean. But you're going to have to fear Yahweh Shema Shah. But also this going into like how, he is in control of everything. When you go off, that's Yahweh Shema Shah putting a spirit on you to go off. So if the Lord can put the spirit on you to go off, he can put the spirit on you to take the MOTB. And there's nothing you can do about it. He will seal your instructions the night before. And you going to wake up, I think I'll get the MOTB today. And you going to go down there and get that shit and get destroyed right after. Shortly after. Because you only going to use that C-hip for like a couple months any fucking way. And then the Lord going to zap them. Verse 23. But this people have a revolting and rebellious heart. You see? 2/3 of our people, all right, they are obstroparious, which is going into defiant towards authority. This is a big sign when you have a revolting, rebellious, obstroparious heart towards Yahweh Shema Shah. Because that's who they have a revolting heart to. It ain't the prophets. We coming in the stead of Yahweh Shema Shah. So they got a problem with Yahweh Shah. Yahweh Shah come in the volume of the book. He's the hidden manna. Okay? This is all Yahweh Shah. He is the bread. He's the roll. They got a problem with Yahweh Shah. Because they lack fear. Yahweh Shema Shah haven't showed their Al-Asijah power in a long time. In a long time. In a very long time. Okay? And they're going to show that ancient power of Al-Asijah like how it was in the ancient world, man. Like when we got out of Egypt, the Lord going to bring all that back, but amp it. And he's going to amp it by giving brothers power. You're going to fear that. I promise you that. Because if I don't get power, my brother is. And my brother going to be fucking shit up too. So, and, what I'm saying, Lord's will I get power as well. We're going to jump over Esau. And we're going to jump on the 2/3. Because they are revolting. They are God's spoiled children. Entitlement. I'm talking about the worst nigga woman on the face of the earth with entitlement. That's 2/3 Jake. Just entitled. How the hell can you be entitled and you on the bottom? You don't have fear. When you have fear, you have pride. Pride is ego. Ego is stubborn. Okay? Revolting, rebellious. Rebellious Israelites is likened unto a witch. And witches get burned with fire. That's in the law. Now it say, but this people have a revolting and a rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. You hear that? Through. That's why we call these niggas he threw niggerlights. That's what they are. He threw niggerlights. Every last one of these 2/3 niggas. And the ones that want to act like they in a circumcision, but we are going into the signs of that, you can identify to prove that, oh, hell no, they ain't it. Verse 24, neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord our power, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter, in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. You hear that? He reserveth unto us. You hear that? It's Yahweh Shema. It's the choice of Yahweh Shema Washai. That's why the scriptures say it is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living power. When you go into that word hand, it means controlling and determining the destinies of men. All right. Which falls under the banner of the rising and falling of kingdoms and empires. Literally, what that means. The word hand. The Lord can pick and choose whether he want to judge you or deliver you. It's really is up to Yahweh Shai, because all judgment was given to the Son. Pursuing Peter's, the 5th chapter. Now, reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. So when the time is right, Yahweh Shema Shah gonna give you a harvest. When he say, that's how you know it ain't no free will. You can't do what you want to do. That's over with. Now, let's move on. Let's go to Revelation 3 and 15. Revelation 3 and verse 15. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou were cold or hot. You hear that? Because when you are, because that actually goes to the next point, which is lukewarm, not growing in understanding. Because when you ain't got no fear, right? You not going to study. You not going to do the work. All right? The scriptures tell you if you take your hand off the plow, the Lord basically going to kill you. If you forget you know what I'm saying? If you forget Yahweh Shema Shah, he's going to destroy you beyond remedy, man. Let you go back into the world knowing this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He going to fire your ass up. But I'm talking out of fear, though. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what Yahweh Shema Shah is capable of, and you do too. You see, you know what I'm saying? Like the difference between us and them, we understand the true nature of Yahweh Shema Shah. Yahweh Shema Shah say, I am a man of war. The Lord is his name. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Exodus 15 and 3. So we know the true nature of Yahweh Shema Shah, that he isn't a respecter of persons. And also he's fair. All of the judgment is justified. If you do right by Yahweh Shema Shah, you're not going to get judged. If you do wrong by Yahweh Shema Shah, you going to get judged. It's very simple with Yahweh Shema Shah, man. But if you don't fear, you're not even going to be considering your ways, and you're going to be adding sin on top of sin, making friends with your demons. You see? You could be making friends with your demons. All right? So let's go to lukewarm. All right? So we got right here, Revelation 3 and 15, I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou were cold or hot. You see? See, Yahweh Shema Shah wants you to pick a side. You either going to be cold or you going to be hot. If you going to be hot, you need to be doing the work. You need to be, locked in to your Yahweh Shema Shai. You need to have a single eye to your Yahweh Shema Shai, which that is one of the points towards the end. You got to have a single eye to your Yahweh Shema Shai. Don't have one hand on the plow. Put both hands on the plow. When you got one hand on the plow, you're going to eventually look back. But if you got both hands on the plow, you can't really look back because both hands on the plow, that means you're going to be moving forward. You see what I'm saying? But it's all about what you do behind closed doors. If you ain't got no fear in your Yahweh Shema Shai, you're not going to consider yourself behind closed doors. That's why Yahweh Shai say clean the inside of the cup to where the outside could be made clean. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to have to pick a side. You're going to have to be like Draymond Green in this motherfucker, man. Pick a strong side. You either over here or over there. Don't be like Kevin Durant. Don't know which team you want to be on. When it's convenient for you, you want to be a Golden State Warrior. But when it's convenient for you, you want to go back to the damn Brooklyn Nets. The fuck? You going to have to pick a side. Pick a team. Don't be like LeBron. Switching teams just because it's convenient. Kobe stayed on one team. The only time he got traded was when the Charlotte Hornets ain't want him. And then the Lakers picked him up and he stayed there his whole career. You need to pick a side. Even though that was a basketball reference, but anyway. And also not growing and understanding. There's a cap with your understanding. There's a height with your understanding. I don't care how much you study. I don't care what the hell you got going on. Yahweh Shema Shai is going to make it to where you're going to always have a ceiling in your understanding. Because a lot of that comes with not studying, which that comes with the next point. Not studying. Okay? Not studying. But it all boils down to you being behind closed doors, though. You see what I'm saying? It all boils down to what you do behind closed doors. For real. We all fighting. We all, fall short of the glory. Don't give your mind over to heaviness. Do not let your iniquities live up themselves. We know the scriptures. Just apply it. You fall, get back up. Don't just stay there on the ground. But I broke my knee. I don't give a fuck. Get up. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass up. Dust your shoulders off. Let me help you. Let me dust the right shoulder off, and I'm going to dust the left shoulder off, and I'm going to fix your tie. And then I'm going to be like, okay, here's your rifle. Let's get back in the fight spiritually. Remember your training, soldier. That's why Elder Apostle Gabar always say desire, the milk. Even though the scriptures go into that, desire the sincere milk. But the elder apostles, especially Elder Apostle Gabar, he always had this rallying cry of master the milk. Even though all of, the elder apostles say that, but I heard Elder Apostle Gabar say this a lot, master the milk. When you master the milk, all right, you can start chewing strong meat and you can start digesting. And when you digest, you get more understanding. You see what I'm saying? Because eating a roll is a process. When you eating a roll, man, tasting is a part of the process. Swallowing, chewing, and digestion is a part of the process. See, a lot of times Jake will eat the roll and they'll get all the way to digestion part and then they'll throw it back up. A lot of Jakes chew the roll and spit it out. Yuck. Because this ain't for you. And if you don't study, all right, this is another sign showing that you are not of the elect. Because the elect is going to be studying. The elect is going to be measuring out the times diligently within itself. The elect is going to seek the Lord 10 times more. And how can you do that? By watching the videos, watching the video epistles. All right. If you a brother and your spirit is compelled to be, amongst the brethren, then go amongst the brethren. Why the fuck are you staying at the house with a blunt, watching the prophets like this is some entertainment or some shit? This ain't no fucking trend. This is a real government. This is a real actual government. This ain't nothing to play with. What the hell? Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh Shema Shai. So that means you got to prove yourself. You have to study and grow in grace is what the scripture's going to. You got to grow in grace to show yourself approved to Yahweh Shema Shai, to where you can receive Yahweh Shema Shai's approval. The good thou faithful servant. You want to hear that? You want to hear that you are a faithful servant from Yahweh Shema Shai. You don't want them to say, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye workers in iniquity. What the hell? That means you wasn't doing shit. You just look good for the camera, but behind closed doors, you wasn't even working on yourself, and you don't even know Yahweh Shema Shai for real. Because the Lord is nigh unto the contrite, the broken spirited, the broken hearted, the spirits that are crushed. But that comes with fear, though. You see how everything lines up? A work, man that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You hear that? So you got to study, man. You know? Because if you study, you can break down the precepts correctly. If you taking notes, you know what I'm saying? You got the elder apostles, you write these down. You write down the notes. You write down the breakdowns from the elders. You know, you study it. You know? If it's a revelation breakdown and you got an elder bishop, elder apostle, all right, even a brother, you know, write it down. This what this means. Okay, verse 8. Okay, boom, boom, boom. All right, now verse 9. Okay, that's what that means. All right, now verse 10. Okay, boom, that's what that means. I don't give a damn if you got to pause the video and write down everything that brother said. Grow. If that's what you need to do, grow. If you were the, you know what I'm saying, if you're the type of brother that's got to write everything down, write it down. Put it in your phone, in your notepad. You will write a rap in that motherfucker, but you ain't going to write down notes. Man. Anyway. And we have one right here. You are not single-minded. All right? Jake is simple-minded, but they not single-minded to Yahweh Shema Shai. All right? That is another point. You have to be single-minded. You can't be worshiping two gods. You can't have a Christian mindset with an Israelite twist. It ain't gonna work, man. And to be honest, you are in strong delusion, and that's really dangerous to, you know what I'm saying, to be in. To be honest, that's really dangerous. Because you think you in the truth and you ain't. I got Matthew chapter 6 and verse 20. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, right? By doing the video epistles, being charitable, all right? Making yourself a living sacrifice for who? Yahweh B'Shem Awashai. Not Yahweh B'Shem Awashai and the world. You got to say, fuck the world. Because the scriptures say if you save your life, you're going to lose it. You know? For real. So, you know, if you love mother, father, daughter, wife more than Yahweh B'Shem Awashai, then this ain't for you, and you not even worth the kingdom. You're not even worth a crown. Because you choosing everything else but Yahweh B'Shem Awashai. Okay? Because you caught up in the world. You caught up with the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, sexual desires from women. You caught up with the bullshit, with the glitz and the glamour, the guns and the butter. Fuck the guns and the butter. Fuck that. Why are you focused on the guns and the butter, man? And we know what the guns and the butter is out that movie Baby Boy with Melvin, when he was shaving his head with a fucking Bowie knife through, man. But you supposed to lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, man. Do your video epistles. Get your ass up on Saturday and you go out there and teach. Make yourself seen amongst men. You go out to the highways and hedges and bid yourself to the marriage in the chief place of concourse. We are fishers of men. You know, some of the fish you may have to throw back. Some of them fish you may have caught. They like, damn, man, I think I got a trout. You'll bring that motherfucker in. It's a whole catfish with whiskers and everything on that motherfucker. Damn near said meow to your ass. You like, oh, hell no. You threw that shit back quick as hell. And then you get a salmon. And then you get a trout. Then you get, you know what I'm saying? Then you start, you know. But some of that fish you got to throw back. Some of the fish that it was a good fish, and then the good fish had worms in it, and you had to throw it back anyway. It just, you know, I thought it was a good fish, but it wasn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know, it's a part of the ministry, man. You know? And then the fishers gonna turn into hunters, though. You see? But you gotta continue to lay up these treasures. Do the work. Do these video epistles. All right? Make yourself a living sacrifice. When you burn that oil, replenish that oil. Do some reading. Take out the hard copy. Read the little asterisk star thing and stop right there and go in the middle of the page, and it's going to take you precept upon precept. It's going to guide you through the, you know, the scriptures going to guide you through the scriptures. The scriptures is going to guide you through the scriptures. You know? Watch the elders. Watch the apostles. Right? Take some notes down. All right? You got to replenish the oil. Because teaching right now is burning oil. I'm going to have to replenish the oil that I just burned in this lesson. So how much you? You see what I'm saying? Where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. You see? For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So your treasure is supposed to be with Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay? Because your heart is going to be single to Yahweh Shema Shai. If your treasure is the world, your heart is going to be inclined to the world, and you're not even going to be single to Yahweh Shema Shai. Because you're going to try to establish your own righteousness, and that's off. That is the first step of you getting destroyed. All right? Now, the last point is overly considering what people say. And that goes for friends, family, all right, people's thoughts that isn't in this ministry. Now, there's an account in the scriptures where Yahweh's mother came while the Lord was teaching. All right. I mean, like, there isn't any reason, so to speak, why she wanted to talk to Yahweh. Nobody, you know what I'm saying, like the scriptures doesn't go into it. But maybe it was probably like a family issue or something like that. Maybe it was something that, it was a probably like a family like, issue or whatever she wanted to address Yahushua. I mean, she figured that's my son. I can just talk to him whenever. So I'm just going to interrupt his sermon and try to ask him something. And this is what the Lord said, Matthew 12:46. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. So they like at the, they like off to the side, but you can see a silhouette of them and they just standing there. All right, because Yahushua had two brothers that was in the truth and two brothers that wasn't in the truth. And he had sisters, but they don't tell you how many sisters they have, that he had. And also, they didn't even mention the names of his sisters. So, but the two brothers that was in the truth is the actual prophet James that wrote the book of James. That's Yahushua, blood brother, same mama, same daddy. And then he had another brother named Judas, not Judas Iscariot, but Jude, the actual prophet that wrote the book of Jude. That's James' brother and Yahushua brother. And the firstborn always belonged to Yahweh. So obviously, Yahushua is the oldest out of those brothers. So you got James and Jude. Those are the two brothers. Same mama, same daddy with Yahushua. And then he had two brothers that wasn't in the truth. You got Joses and Simon. Okay, not Peter, but Simon. Those brothers of Yahushua wasn't in the truth, and Joses and Simon was with Mary. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? So he just asked her a question like, who is my mother and who are my brethren? They're in the world, technically. They're not following Yahushua, because if that was the case, they wouldn't even be standing at the door, standing without. They'd be in there learning. So obviously they're not in the truth. So the Lord just asked a rhetorical question. Who is my mother and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. His congregation, the ones that's in this truth. And this being a single eye towards Yahweh Shema Shah. Everybody that's listening, everybody who the Lord has received his approval as being a believer and a disciple, he had his hands out to them. This is my family. This is my family right here. You see? For whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. See, you got to believe on Yahushua like the scriptures have said, and out thee shall flow rivers of living water. Out your belly shall flow rivers of living water. You have to believe that Yahushua was sent by Yahweh. You got to believe that. All right. So, Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. You know, these are the signs. All right. So if you don't pray, you ain't got no fear, you lukewarm, you ain't growing in understanding, you don't study, your eye isn't, single-minded, and you overly consider what people say, such as family, friends, people, thoughts, all right, that don't even have anything to do with this truth. If you got all 7 of those are 7 signs that you are not of the elect. So watch out. Israel. So Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give infinite honors, praises, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule very well unto this very day. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the sincere Akim Wa'akwathium that's out there trimming their lamps, all right, making sure they're calling and their election is sure, studying to make themselves approved, all right, working out their own salvation with fear and trembling, measuring out the times diligently within itself, making your life a living sacrifice. We on the next one. Abaratazai. Shalom.